Your blood sugar doesn't really care that much about what you eat. It cares a lot more about what you do in the hour after you eat it. Same meal, same person, same portion. But if you sit on the couch afterwards versus take a short walk, you will get two completely different blood sugar spikes. And we're not talking about a small difference here. In some of the research, that spike gets cut by close to half. Same food, just a different number 10 minutes later. I want to show you where that number actually comes from because it is real and it's not the whole story. I want to show you exactly how to use this to help keep your blood sugar lower tonight. Let's start with what's actually happening after you eat. When we eat something with carbohydrates, our blood sugar begins to rise, and that is exactly what it should be doing. That's normal. It's supposed to happen. The problem isn't that our blood sugar goes up, it is how high it goes and also how fast it goes up. A big, sharp spike does more than just feel kind of unpleasant. If you're the kind of person who gets sleepy or foggy after lunch, repeated large blood sugar spikes over months and years puts a lot of stress on your blood vessels, and that is linked to things like inflammation that will then damage the lining of our arteries. Over the long run, it also leads to a higher risk of heart attack, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. This is true even in people who are not diabetic. Our fasting blood sugar might look perfectly normal on that lab test that our doctor does on an annual basis, and we could still be having large swings after our meals. Nobody is measuring it. This, however, is a big deal if we care about living a long time and being healthy throughout our whole life. We spend a lot of time talking about diet and exercise as separate things, but there is a third piece that almost gets no attention, and that is the timing of our meals. When we move, and also the timing of our exercise, when we move relative to when we eat, changes how our body is going to handle that meal. And that's really what this video is all about. I heard from a number of my subscribers recently that you had been unsubscribed. If you're subscribed to this channel, will you take a moment and double check to make sure that you are still subscribed? Each one of you that subscribes is important to me, and you inspire me to continue to bring you the content on this channel. So thank you for your subscription and for checking to make sure you are still subscribed. So let's dive in. Here's what's happening in your muscles when you walk. Normally, insulin is the key that unlocks your muscle cells so that glucose can get in and be used for energy. But our muscles have kind of a second or a back door, one that doesn't really need insulin at all. And that's a really cool thing because when a muscle contracts, that door opens all on its own. And when you walk after eating, your leg muscles will start pulling in that glucose right out of your bloodstream through that other door. And it is independent of insulin. That is the whole mechanism. It's not complicated and it's not magic. It's just your muscles doing what your muscles were meant to do all along. Now let's talk about the actual research because I want you to know that this isn't just a wellness trend. This is a well-documented finding. The first study I want to mention is that it came out of New Zealand. It was published in the Journal of Diabetology, and it was published in 2016. Researchers had people with type 2 diabetes walk for just 10 minutes after each meal, and then they compared that to a single 30-minute walk done anytime during the day. Same total amount of walking each way, 3 10 minutes versus 1 30-minute. The post-meal walking group had lower blood sugar overall by about 12% on average. But here's the part I find most interesting. The biggest benefit showed up after dinner specifically. That was the meal when people tend to eat the most carbohydrates and then go sit on the couch for the rest of the night. After dinner, the reduction was around 22%, almost twice as much. Same amount of steps, just better timing. Here's the second study that was done. It was done at George Washington University. It was published in Diabetes Care, and it looked at older adults at risk for diabetes. And they compared 3 short 15-minute walks, one after each meal, against a single 45-minute walk done earlier in the day. The short split-up walks after the meals controlled their blood sugar over a full 24-hour period just as well as the long walk. And they were actually better at controlling their spikes after dinner. Again, timing was important more than the volume or how long they walked. Here's the third piece of evidence, and it is the one that gets us to that 50% number. And I want to be precise here about it though, because I don't like using a number I can't stand behind. In 2022, a team of researchers pooled the results of multiple clinical trials, and they published a paper in Sports Medicine. Across all of those pooled studies, light walking after a meal reduced the blood sugar spike by an average of about 17% compared to just sitting. But when you looked at all the individual trials that made up that average, that effect had a pretty wide range. And in some of those trials, the reduction was as high as 55%. So 50% isn't actually a myth. And it also is important to note that it isn't the typical result either. It is at that upper end of what is possible and what has been observed in real controlled research. Your own number will depend on the meal, your fitness level, and how you walk. What I want you to take from all three of these studies together is this: they don't just agree with each other, they reinforce each other from different angles. One shows post-meal timing beats total volume. One shows short split walks work just as well as one long walk. And one shows that the size of the effect across many trials pooled together. 3 different research groups, 3 different populations, but really when you think about it, it is one consistent conclusion. I just want to take a moment to say thank you for being here. The fact that you chose to spend a little of your time watching this channel genuinely means a lot to me. If you're enjoying the content and haven't already subscribed, I'd like to ask you a small favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the community here. It really helps this channel grow and lets me keep making more videos like this. Now, let's get back to the topic. So here's what I tell my patients and what I also do myself. I don't like going to a gym, and you don't need a gym. You don't need any special shoes, and you don't need a half an hour or 30 minutes. Somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes at a normal, comfortable pace. It can be done within about an hour of finishing your meal, and that is enough to make a measurable difference. You don't have to power walk, and this is not a workout. This is just movement. If you only do this once a day, do it after your largest meal. For most people, that is our dinner, since it's usually our biggest meal and the one right before sitting or lying down. That's exactly where the research shows that we get our biggest payoff. If you're stuck at a desk and can't get outside, even walking around your kitchen or up and down a hallway for 10 minutes will make a difference. That muscle contraction, remember that second, that side door, that back door, that is what matters. It is what's bringing in that glucose without needing any insulin. And if you're someone that's managing prediabetes, or you're just trying to keep your metabolic health in good shape as you get older, this is actually one of the simplest tools that you have in your toolbox. It costs you nothing. There's no prescription. There's no side effects aside from maybe getting a little fresh air and a great view outdoors, hopefully, depending upon where you walk. I'm going to be honest with you. In the ER, I see what happens at the far end of years of unmanaged blood sugar. I see the strokes, the heart attacks, the kidney failure, and the diabetic amputations. None of these show up overnight. They build slowly, spike by spike, over decades and decades. A 10-minute walk after dinner is not going to undo genetics or reverse a lifetime of habits by itself. But here's the thing, it's one of the lowest effort, best supported things that I think you can do, starting today to reduce the load on your body over time. That is really what longevity actually looks like. It's not some big dramatic decision, some biohack, or a handful of supplements. It's what we do day in and day out, what we do after dinner, and what we do for year after year. If you want to know what your own blood sugar is actually doing after meals and not guessing, but actually seeing it, that's exactly the kind of thing that we offer and dig into at Optimum Health MD. My team and I work with people who want a real data-driven plan for their long-term health and not just managing their diseases or their symptoms. I still work in the emergency room, and I still see firsthand every time I go to work what happens when this stuff goes unaddressed for way too long. And that is exactly why I built Optimum Health. It's to help people get ahead of it so that they don't have the last 10, 20, 30 years of disability. If that's something that you're interested in, the link is in the description. And if this video is useful, the best thing that you can do is try it tonight. Walk for 10 minutes after dinner, see how you feel, and drop me a comment if you gave that a try, and let me know how it worked for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Dr. Joanette, and I'm going to see you in the next video. This video is for educational purposes only. Well, I am a doctor. I'm not your doctor. So before you make any changes to your diet, start any exercises, or add any supplements to your regime, make sure you discuss the information that you've seen and heard here with your doctor.